Alright, today we are going to practice some different kinds of lines, and we're going to turn it into an actual drawing. So you might not know what we're making at first, but you might get the idea once we start to draw. So our papers are going to be at our table horizontal, and at the bottom, so I'm trying to think about the space of this paper, at the bottom I want you to draw a zigzag line that goes all the way across the paper. So watch how I do mine first. I'm starting it at the edge, and I am making some of these zigzags tall, some of them short, some of them are really tiny, some of them are big and take up more space. So I'm stretching this all the way across the paper, and if you look, it didn't kind of go uphill, it stayed pretty straight across the paper, and if I measure this, it's about 2 finger spaces up. So go ahead and add your zigzag line. Next, I'm going to add a bumpy line, and my bumps are going to look like W's. So I'm going about 2 finger spaces up, and some of these might come down and some of them might come up a little bit, so they're not completely straight. They never touch the zigzag line. So some spots they start about 2 finger spaces apart, sometimes they get super close and almost 1 finger space apart. So go ahead and add that bumpy line like a W. Next, we're going to add a bumpy line on top of it, but this time it's going to look like an M. So our bumps are kind of going down. If they are not completely straight, some go up, some kind of come down, that's okay. But again, all these lines are going end to end. 2 finger spaces apart in some areas, ooh, sometimes 3. Now I'm actually going to repeat that same pattern. I'm going to go back to a zigzag. And this time my zigzag's about 2 finger spaces up. And some of the zigzags are big and some of them are little. And they're staying pretty straight. So zigzag, W bump, M bump, zigzag. So you can go ahead and do that one. And then we're going to repeat that pattern. There's my W's. And here's my M's. Once we have that pattern, we're going to go back and we're going to add 2 other lines. So I'm going to start at the bottom, going way down, and in between this zigzag and this first W bump, I'm going to add some lines going up and down that kind of curve out. And I'm stopping them when they touch that zigzag line. Now I'm going to put a space, and I'm going to do another one. And I'm going to put a space, and this space is maybe like 3 fingers. So these lines are curving out. If you think you know what we're making, just keep a bubble in your mouth. Don't blurt it out. If I count, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of those lines. After you have that done, we're going to go up a little bit further on our paper. And right by this zigzag line, I'm going to add a wavy line. Really gentle wave. And it's never touching that line, but it's kind of following its up and down pattern. The last thing I'm going to add is kind of a dotted curved line where some of them curve up and down and up and down in between these top W and M bumps. That is the last of our drawing. So if you think you know what it is, give a thumbs up. Awesome. Now we are ready to outline. So the next process will be something you do on your own. We're going to take our Sharpie markers. We're going to outline all the zigzag lines of our grass and our trees and our mountains. And Ignore that bell. If you're like me, you're not going to be outlining it perfectly. So after I outline, I am going to go back with one of those big erasers and kind of erase those pencil lines that I have on here. After that is the fun coloring part. So in the past, I've done this project on a much larger piece of paper, but you can start to add color. So as you look at this color, you'll see that the bottom is definitely grass. On the grass we have these trees, but in these spots between the trees we see the mountains behind them. So we're kind of creating a lot of space. We've got grass, then we've got trees, and behind the trees we have mountains, and behind the mountains we have sky. So there's a lot of layers in this picture, and your job is to show those layers with color.